Have you ever finished a peaking block of training and wondered if you did too little or too much, whether you're really ready for your contest? Well, I just finished one 10 minutes ago and I want to share with you why I think this time I nailed it. Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. I just finished maybe 10-15 minutes ago, the last session of my peaking block. And, just because I'm in the middle of it right now, of feeling this and how I feel and how everything went, I thought I would share my thoughts and, maybe it'll help you kind of assess your peaking blocks. I've done a lot of them in my career, and I have to say that this is probably one of the ones where it led to a really good place, at least it feels like. Look, I won't know until in 2 weeks when my contest happens and actually see the fruits of the labor. But, comparing this to my previous ones, I actually feel in a good spot. So I thought I'd just kind of share some thoughts and maybe rant a little about, how it all went. And, like I said, maybe that will help you. So let's start with how I'm feeling. And to be honest, I feel horrible. But if you look objectively at how the training session went today, it went really well. I did 3 events. I touched contest weights or slightly lower, and so that was really good. Now, why I said horrible is because all of that felt really heavy. But that essentially is telling me that I've done everything I could to be as prepared as possible, right? So if you think about this, if you've ever heard of this traditional fitness fatigue model, the idea of this peaking block is to increase fitness, strength, power, whatever, variables you're trying to optimize or maximize. And along with that is going to come fatigue, right? The heavier workloads you use, the more intensity, the more fatigue you're going to generate. And so fitness and fatigue will go up together. And then obviously you have a taper leading into the contest. For me, I got about 2 weeks left. And the goal there is just to maintain that fitness or strength that was built and dissipate as much of the fatigue out of your system as possible. So the fact that I could, finish this training, like I said, not long ago, and be in a state where, I'm really tired. I have a lot of, systemic fatigue. My whole body is tired and sore and tender, but still do the training. I think that means that I've done almost everything I could. Because what you want to do is you want to get to a point where you're feeling like I'm feeling now, where you're really tired, almost like beaten down, but you're still able to, move the events at contest weight and also not have any injuries. So, I'm sure some of you, for me in my past, peaking blocks, you're always increasing the intensity, dropping the volume, pushing harder and harder, trying to, maximize that strength output, that force output. But, in doing so, a lot of times that leads to injuries. This is, one of the, sad to say, few times when I've gotten to the end of a, peaking block like this, and after months of training and rehab, especially for my arm, and, it's doing okay with contest weight. I'm doing okay with contest weight in general, and I have no major injuries. I have, the kind of standard things that come along with competing in strongman for 13 years, nagging injuries that are maybe not even injuries, but just, things that are always there, come up as you, increase the weights, as you get more fatigued, as you pay less attention to technique at times, but nothing major, right? I rehabbed my forearm for the last 3 months. It's feeling pretty good. Everything else is, not too bad. And to give you kind of a more concrete example, I feel like right now, although it would be super hard, and I wouldn't recommend this because it'd be super draining, and maybe a 2-week taper would be long enough, I feel like I could get up right now and go do the same 3 events at the same weights, and I would survive it, and I wouldn't cause any further injury to my body. So that's kind of where I'm at, right? I've left some in the tank. That's good, because it doesn't really matter what I do today. It matters what happens on contest day, right? That's what all of this preparatory work and suffering and fun in the gym here is all about. So that's kind of my general takeaway for you is, when you finish a peaking block, if you can sit back and say, I couldn't have done more work, right? Now, like I said, I could physically, but it would be detrimental. So if you couldn't have done more work that would actually be detrimental, then that's what you want. And if you're also feeling in a spot where you feel fresh enough that, given a nice taper, for me that's typically 2 weeks, at this point in my career, that I'll be feeling great by the time the contest comes, then that's like a wonderful sign, I think. And so that's why I think that I nailed it, okay? Like I said, we'll see. I have to check back in a couple of weeks and see if I got on that podium or not. The other thing that I think is kind of beneficial for having your final, let's say, a couple of weeks of your peaking block in a higher level of fatigue state, is because it actually might help you if on contest day you feel the same way. So contest day is just one day, and you can do everything in your power to take the fatigue out of your system. You can get massages, chiropractic adjustments, hot and cold treatments, sauna. You can do, lots of food, sleep, everything to try to get your body to feel optimal and perform optimally for that day. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the case. What if you do all that, and the night before something stressful happens? Or that night you sleep in a weird position and you wake up and your neck is just like so sore. Actually, that's how I'm feeling right now, because that happened to me last night. That's happened to me before on contest day. And you can't control that, and you often don't have time in the morning of the contest. Amateur contests usually start like 9, 10 a.m. to get rid of that stuff. So you will just have to compete in the state that you happen to be in that day, and that's what you have to go with. So naturally in the last couple of weeks of your peaking block, you're going to put yourself in a somewhat similar state where you're just like really fatigued, right? You get the work done still, but it's like hard, right? And you're tired and you're sore. If you get to that state and you're able to push through that and stay away from injuries, then what happens is it really simulates when you say you happen to get to a contest and your body's just not in a good state. Say your taper didn't work, or you didn't do the things you were supposed to do, and you actually are feeling bad on that contest day. Well, it's kind of like no problem. The last 2-3 weeks of my peaking block, I actually was training like that anyways. I wasn't feeling good then because I had built up all that fatigue already, and I trained through it. I was working with heavy weights, maybe contest weights, depending on where you were at, and you get through it. And so, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that's another, I think, benefit of being able to persevere when things are hard. If you can do that in training, then when you get to contest, it should be just like another training day that you've done, a few weeks. If you're like me, you've done this many times across your career. So anyways, that's all I wanted to share with you. Some thoughts about, peaking and how to evaluate, the feelings you get and use that to drive whether you should push harder or not, and how that might be helpful for you to get yourself as ready as possible to dominate your next contest.
Down. Go, Hunter. 30 seconds. Come
on, Tyler. Come on, Tyler. Tillman. You got it.
Finish away, finish it. Take her home, Ty. Take her home.
Come on, Tyler.